Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, The Inked Reader. I apologize for the change of background. It's just that it's the middle of the day, I'm on a late shift, so I'm filming before going to work and the house is very busy, people are talking, so I apologize for any background noise. But it's the only time I can film with natural light. As I mentioned in another video, I am in the process of getting a proper camera for either my birthday or Christmas, which are very close to each other pretty much, so it's happening. But bear with me, for today we had to move to another setting because the studio was busy. So usually I do these wrap-ups every quarterly, so every season. I am notoriously shitty at being in time, so these are the things that I watched during summer 2021. Yes, I know it's like November by the time you're watching this probably, but life got in the way. But to be fair, you can always take a recommendation about what to watch. Doesn't matter if I watch it in summer or weather. So I didn't watch much, so you shouldn't be here too long, hopefully. So let's start with the only reality TV show that I watched, which was Kingdom. And this is a Korean reality TV show where basically K-pop groups battle each other to decide who's the king of performance. So you had Road to Kingdom, where you had a bit less famous groups. The winner of that Road to Kingdom, which is probably one of my favorite groups ever in K-pop wise, won that and then passed on to battle among like veterans in the K-pop industry, or at least like groups that are very popular. I love dancing, singing, performance. I think that's why I enjoy K-pop so much, because I listen to every kind of music, not necessarily only pop, but I think it's more of a performance that lures me in. So, and that's why I'm such a fan of K-pop. It's because of the performance. And so this was my perfect reality TV show. I have to say though that unfortunately my favorite groups ever, they had amazing performances, but you could tell that they were extremely tired. It was a bit of a pity for me to see them over and over not getting the results that they wanted to. And although in the end they stood their own, considering that they were battling such other like major famous from big companies groups, and they're not from a big company, I think that they are like hands down amazing. Like what they did and the effort they put in was hands down among the best, if not the best. But it was a bit of a pity for me to see how the people at the companies that have way more money, you could tell from basically the performances that it's just they were less stressed and less put on pressure as my favorite group was. So of course I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, but while Road to Kingdom was, I guess, a 5 stars, I absolutely loved it. There were some instances where here I was just like a bit less excited about this, and actually I think I skipped the last 20 minutes of the last one just because I didn't want, like, I was spoiling the outcome of, you know, who had won, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay, we knew, and I don't want to see that. I just, you know, and not because they didn't deserve it, because I guess all the groups I really liked, all the groups did outstanding performances, but you could really tell which groups were from famous companies and had more money, and other groups that put as much effort, is not sometimes even more, and just had less props because of the money, didn't get the outcome that they would deserve. So I was a bit disappointed in that. Also, like, one of the prizes was basically to have a reality TV show based on them. The group that won and so on, they didn't really need that because they already had that. So I was like, I'm not gonna continue on and watch the reality TV show because there's so much over content about this group, which is amazing, talented. It's a great group. I'm not debating talent there. It's just that I wish, you know, more light was put on less known groups that still deserve it, while groups that are very well known, they all have these things already, and they didn't need that basically. And just to be perfectly clear, like, the group that won, one of them, it's like one of my favorite biases ever. Like, I think he's such a beautiful, talented, gorgeous guy. So it's not about me not liking the group that won. It's just about, yeah, it's not my favorite group ever, but also I thought, you know, groups with less money and less opportunities would have put so much effort, and you could tell because of how tired they were, and still didn't get the outcome, while this group didn't need this to begin with. TV shows. So I watched, of course, I had because everybody was watching it. Shadow and Bone season 1. This is based on the Grisha trilogy. So this was based on the first book, Shadow and Bone by Lee Bardugo. I had actually finished the trilogy just before watching this because I didn't want to have any spoiler even by mistake. And I enjoyed this, but I didn't love it as much as everybody else. Like, I rate this in terms of how I would rate a book, so from 1 to 5, 1 being shit, 5 being perfect, gorgeous, perfect, you know, the most perfect thing ever. And this is a 3.5 stars, so it's kind of an average. I didn't really like, I think that it was a strong beginning and then I kind of got not bored but less interested by the end, and it's nothing to do with the performance or the story because it was very loyal to the book. It was just I honestly struggle to watch stuff like TV shows. For me, it's so hard to hold my attention, and so at a strong start I was binge watching the first 3 episodes and then I was just like, okay, then I can, you know, just slow down, I'm not that interested, or maybe I was doing something else while watching the episode. So it was a 3.5 stars, and I know this because there are very few shows that hold my attention and keeps it, and there is no way I go anywhere. And then this, by the half of it, didn't. I have to say though that I felt the same as I felt with the book. While a lot of people were not very happy with the lot of interest in it, and I didn't mind. I think they actually shined through, so that was very nice. I will definitely continue watching these. It's just that it's not one that I'm pulling my hair out, or as soon as season 2 comes out I'm gonna be in the front of the TV, but I'm definitely gonna watch it and definitely continue on. Overall, it was a good one. Like, considering that I don't watch stuff, the fact that I finished these and I gave it 3.5 stars is still a very good sign. A controversial one because a lot of people didn't like this one, but I did like it. It was Loki season 1. This is on Disney Plus, and I actually did really enjoy this. This is a spin-off of Loki's story, and I have to say that I can see why people criticize this, because this is not the Loki we know of. This is a very mellow and not bland, but way more grey toward, you know, being the hero instead of being like this grey anti-hero or the bad guy necessarily, which is what many of us wanted. Like, we wanted to watch a TV show about a bad guy, and we didn't get that, and I guess that's why a lot of people were disappointed. But once I got in the mentality of this is not the Loki I know, but I can just take these and enjoy it for what it is, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very entertaining. I did like, there was a lot of sci-fi element, I think, especially with, you know, Marvel is always integrated fantasy and sci-fi, so I did like that. I did like the plot. I found that it was interesting, and I guess what I did like is that if we don't get him to be as we want, we still get another form of him being as we want. That character that we meet, I guess that was the Loki that I was thinking to begin with, so I did like that. I cannot spoil anything, so I have to say that I thought that the pairing was a bit cringy overall. I thought it is in Loki's style, but it's a bit cringy at the same time. But I did like the pair in itself. I liked the other one in the pair because I thought that was that was the Loki we would be expecting, and I will continue on with this for sure when it comes out the next season, if it's renewed, because I'm not sure. One thing that actually saved my summer, because I went to Italy and I was actually very sick for a few days, and I actually watched this, was Beaster, and this is an anime adapted from a manga. I heard mixed things about the manga, so I never actually acquired it, but then I had good feedback about the anime, so I said, like, you know, it's been ages since I watched an anime, I really want to watch it, and I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. This is the story of this kind of alternative world where basically animals are people, so they go to school and they have their own mechanisms. Like, basically animals that would tend to eat animals are not trying to be vegetarian and just coexist, and this coexistence though is not going as great as it should, at least not in this school. I kind of see a lot of parallelism with our society and how we integrate and the struggle we are going through, so I did really enjoy the aspect. It's a bit weird sometimes when you see these animals, like different species of animals kiss, and it's something you have to get used to, but I really appreciate what they're doing. Legoshi, I loved him. I was such an amazing character. I will definitely continue on. Movies. Fast and Furious Shonen Hob. This is a spin-off of Fast and Furious. It's just fun. I gave it 4 stars. I mean, I tend to, and again I repeat this every time, but I guess I tend to watch a movie and try to rate it or kind of form expectation about what I'm about to watch based on the genre. So this is an action fun movie. It was 4 stars. It did what it promised to do, if it makes sense. I thought I forgot about it, and then I rewatched it and it's like, oh no, I've seen this before, Justice League. It's a 3.5 stars. I think I appreciated the second time a tiny bit more than I did the first time, but I think I've wrapped this up again months and months or years ago, so I'm not gonna go into much details here. But yeah, 3.5 stars. It gets better on the second watch, I believe. And then I watched Mother. Mother is a horror movie with Jennifer Lawrence, who is an actress I absolutely love. And this is the story of this couple. They live in this house in USA, kind of remotely, and then all of a sudden, at the beginning of the movie, the husband, who is a writer, takes home someone that knocks at the door, is kind of a friend or an acquaintance or something, that comes in, and she's not expecting to have him over, and she kind of doesn't have a say in him staying with them, and all of a sudden a lot of people start coming over, and it's a very weird one to explain, and a lot of allegories and a lot of parallelism, and it's one that everything I can say could be potentially a spoiler, but also it's one of those that you have to go in not having an idea what's happening, because the majority of the movie, including the end, is like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what's happening? And it's a very quiet horror until the end. And I think when you get to the end, there are like 20 to 25 minutes of just madness, horrifying crescendo, and it's very intense. It's extremely intense in those 25 minutes, so do not watch this if you don't want to see blood or violence. But if you don't do horror, but you can withstand violence and a bit more graphic scenes, you can still withstand this, because this is not jump scared horror. It's not the kind of, there is a serial killer with an axe behind the door, it's all dark, and then you're all quiet in silence, and then you get, scared off and you shit yourself. It's not that kind of horror. It's a very quiet horror it's more like a mindfuck cluster of what I'm watching movie, and then you do have intense action and violence toward the end, but it's a crescendo that you can handle, although you might not do horror. Like, I don't do horror, and I still loved this. I gave this 4.5 stars. I think when I got around to think about the end, and the movie had ended, and I could think about what I just watched and what it meant, I thought it was freaking brilliant. When you go online and look at what the director wanted to convey, and the final scenes, those last half an hour of movie, he did exactly what he was planning to do, and it works. And it's a good one. It's been around and it's famous for a reason, so I would definitely suggest this. Cruella. I watched this on Disney Plus. Love this. This is the story of Cruella from Cruella de Mon. And growing up, this movie, which I don't remember in English what it's called, it wasn't by any means my favorite, and so I never kind of thought I was gonna love as much as I did, and instead I absolutely loved it. And I thought it was funny, entertaining. If you like fashion, I like fashion, but I'm not too much into that. I absolutely love the dresses and what comes out, the plot. It was entertaining. She was a kind of anti-hero, great character that I love, and I wanted to. 5 stars. I don't have absolutely no complaint about this movie. She's brilliant also in this role, so that helps. And then, I don't know why I did this to myself, but I chose to watch Cape Fear. This is a kind of old movie. I think it was in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken, or 90s, around, definitely before 2000. And this is the story of this lawyer that all of a sudden has to deal with a stalker, and the stalker is this man that he had defended years ago and lost the case. And now this guy who's got out of prison after he was in because he sexually assaulted and raped a woman, got out and decided to stalk the lawyer, because he believes that the reason why he was convicted in the end was because his lawyer didn't do a proper job in defending him. And you have Robert De Niro in here, and boy, let me tell you, is it good. But this movie, I was horrified. Like, I wish I could unseen this movie. There is a rape scene in this movie, which is very graphic. It doesn't last long at all, but it's horrifying. And again, it's probably the movie that I should have stayed clear of. I should have read more about reviews and what was going on before going into it, because I work with women that have gone through this, and that's my daily job. And it's horrifying to actually see this portrayed, and I found in general this movie very upsetting. And I do understand that's because of, you know, my personal experience and my job, that I might find this particularly triggering, so I should have stayed clear of. Other people might not have the same triggers that I have, so might find this way less disturbing. However, you could have skipped that part. Like, we didn't need to see that to know what was going on. Sometimes most tasteful to just let us know without showing us for shock value, if it makes sense. Like, I just didn't understand why that scene needed to be there. Said that, I cannot deny that Robert De Niro as the bad guy and as a creep is perfect. Like, that's a monster there, and he does it perfectly. And I was like, how can you do that? Either he's the best actor ever, or is something actually wrong with him. No, I'm kidding. I love Robert De Niro. I think he's such an amazing actor, and you can tell from this, because he could me the fuck out. I probably can see horror and be less terrified than I was watching these. But in the end, I found a lot of things distasteful. I just didn't like the story. It's definitely not a movie for me, so I ended up giving 2 stars. I guess it's a mix of, it wasn't for me, but also overall, I don't think it was a movie that... I think a lot of things in this movie were problematic to begin with, if it makes sense. So it's a mixture of, could be me, but it could also be the movie. Then I watched Stardust. After Cape Fear, I was like, bloody hell, I need to watch mild stuff. I need to watch feel-good stuff. And so I decided to watch Stardust. I believe I watched this many years ago, but I didn't remember, or maybe I started it and never finished. So I watched it all, loved it. This is based on Neil Gaiman book, Stardust, which is a lovely fantasy about this boy who comes from a poor background, and he's in love with a very popular, beautiful, rich girl in the small village they live in. So she says, I'm gonna marry you if you can bring me a star. And he goes on an adventure behind the wall, which he's not supposed to do, in order to find the star that he had just seen fallen. Robert De Niro's in here as well, so that was nice, because I could see, I kind of redeemed him in my eyes. I was like, oh no, he's not a creep, because I could see him in a completely different role. It was again brilliant, but it was a very warm, cozy role that made me feel like, oh, I'm gonna hug you, instead of, if I see you, I'm gonna run for my life. So it was nice kind of redeeming him in my eyes in that sense. And I absolutely love this. I love the story, how actiony this is. It's a very canon fantasy story, if you want. And it's just so entertaining for all the family. You can watch this with children, not 4 years old, probably I wouldn't understand, but you know, young children. It's like a whole family movie, and it's very nice. And finally, the last thing I rewatched was In the Shadow. We've got Johnny Depp in this, and this is by Tim Burton, if I'm not mistaken, and I did enjoy this in the past. I watched it probably 3-4 times by now. It's the story of his cursed family, and you know, the heir of a family that is cursed to become a vampire, and is then closed in a coffin for hundreds of years, and then in modern days, by mistake, is picked up from the ground, and he has to go back and save his family, who is kind of in disarray and in financial problem. And again, this vampires fantasy adventure, it's a very fast-paced movie with some humor in it, so I really enjoyed this. And I think this movie has one of the best jokes ever. Like, there is a point where Alice Cooper comes in and Johnny Depp says something, and I don't want to spoil it because you have not watched it, but I thought that was just hilarious. Every time I hear him say that, I just laugh so much, which is a silly thing. I don't know why I love it so much, but I thought it was so hilarious. So I always remember this movie because of that joke that's in it. And that was it. I take this occasion to ramble about what I watched, just because I thought sometimes, for example, with Cape Fear, if I heard like an in-depth review, I would say this is not for me, I wouldn't have done it. So that's why I always tend to go in a bit more details. But thank you for listening in. I hope you have a good time. Leave down below in the comments if there is something that I should watch. Definitely, I have a couple of things that I'm in the middle of. Hopefully I can wrap them up for end of fall, if I can find the time to finish them. Do definitely let me know what you think I should watch next. And I hope you have a good day, night, depending where you are, and see you next time. Ciao!